not impact. Past painful thoughts, in fact I blast tasteful thoughts and past. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember you're just freaked out, get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Q's show here, and now, before I do begin, I found that missing part I was talking about. Apparently it does actually exist, and thanks to someone in the last part, I just kinda looked at the way I spelled yautja. I realized I messed it up, and I spelled it correctly to find it. So that kinda does piss me off, but at the same time, I kinda don't care. Since I do feel like the last part, or the previous version of the 14th part, it was good in its own way, but I like the way I did this one better. Now, with that being said, let's give a refresher course for people who are coming back to this playlist probably sometime later, not the people who are currently watching it, since these two parts are coming up on the same day and there's a lot of hype for this series. Now, Deku recruited the last hunter for his party. Him and these two hunters or predators are supposed to be training. They're going to take on a xenomorph queen. And while one hunter, Aki, she is willing to risk her life to prove herself to not only her father but many other yautja because of the way they act towards her, disrespecting her, she feels like she can actually do this. Deku, he is her prey, and that is the way she does view him. However, at the same time, certain things are changing. While they are going through the process of, oh yeah, he's a higher rank than me, so I do respect him, there was whenever Aki was able to catch up. At some point over the 6 months, Aki actually would have been able to become a warrior predator. Especially with the fact is, she does see Deku as a bit more of a rival. So not only will the two go on their own hunts, there are times where they join the same hunt. And they compete with one another. Many yautja, they've seen this. And while some of them, they did think it was funny at first, Aki's trying to keep up with the human, there was whenever she became an actual warrior. And that simple, oh, she's trying to keep up with the human is, oh, she's keeping up with Scar, because they know him more. And their attitude towards her did somewhat start to change. Now, Aki, she also does at least know the way Deku does talk. He doesn't see her as lower. He doesn't see her as higher than him. He sees her as an equal. And that's something that she's not used to. And Deku, he did call her something. He called her a friend. That confused Aki, and she doesn't really know how to take that. As we do currently have, let's just say about 2 weeks after Deku, he's been able to hire and get the third yautja on his team, or the third hunter. Deku, Aki, and Aki's older sister, which I have not given a name for, which I need to since I'm going to be using her now, they're all standing in a room. And Deku, he's going over a few things as they're all sitting down. Deku, he's at least showing some data. And he's showing the other yautja what exactly he's doing. The yautja actually at least going to talk to Deku and ask certain questions. As right now, Deku, he's trying to at least go through certain plans with them. Make tactics, ideas, and different ways to use their weapons. And the meeting, it actually does go a little well, but there are rocky things. Oh, this plan doesn't work. This one doesn't seem viable. This one doesn't seem like this. Should be doing this instead of this here. It was basically a battle tactics plan. And while things were eventually able to be sorted out after a little bit of time, there actually was one of her, the yautja, she did go to leave. And it was just Deku and Aki. Deku actually going to stand up and go to someone start stretching, talking about how he's thinking about going to hunt outside the fence, since he himself does want to catch another prey and make something fresh. Hmm? What about that other prey you caught? Hmm? Oh, that? I sold the meat I cooked and traded it for alcohol. Hmm. Don't you save it? Those thin pieces that you cook sometimes. The jerky? Yeah, I got a bunch of that, and really, I do have to go through it a little bit fast sometimes. This plant doesn't really have anything like salt. It's got something similar, but it doesn't do the same thing to meat. It's all just kind of strange. I don't know how to describe it. Do you know what salt is? Mm, no? If it's used to preserve things, we might have something similar. But then again, we're more advanced. Yeah, I know. Deku going to walk away, talking about how he's going to go hunt now. Azaki, she does just somewhat sit there, and she does just go to replay it again in her head. Deku, he treats her so casually. He treats many yautja with a certain level of caution, but he treats her, well, casually. It doesn't make sense. Hell, even around her sister, Deku does at least seem to be on edge. But that's perfectly fine, right? That yautja almost, well, broke a few more things than she should have. But Deku came out on top. And it is also kind of strange. She's noticed that with the time she spent with her prey, she has actually come to respect him a bit. She can see a bit more in humanity now, if that does make sense. She knows of many of the blooded hunters Deku has created and has trained up. She is curious about it. There are humans who have been in their preserve for a long time. Many of them have not tried to join or at least embrace the yautja ways. This was until Deku came around. Some of the ones who've been here all their lives, they started to get curious. And they actually wanted to start going outside the preserve. And with the fact that some of them actually started to become hunters, they enjoy it. They like getting out of their comfort zone, that fence, the thing they've spent their entire life inside of. Hell, with the way the fence has been expanded, hunters, they're going around everywhere. Even then, some of them they're making crops and just farming. They do stick to their regular lifestyle, but they're just able to leave now. And that's the interesting thing to her. If many more humans down the line, if they were stuck here for generations, would one day a human clan form? Well, that's technically what they're doing now, but is it possible that one day humanity could be influenced by the yautja style? It's curious to her. And she does think about that a bit, as she does get to stand and walk away. She doesn't know what to even really say. And there is actually whenever she does encounter a human, well, blooded, whenever she is walking through a corridor. Wherever the yautja does come upon the human, being able to see the mark on its head, she actually is going to bring her hand up. As she is going to say something, asking the human if they have time to talk about something. The human, looking kind of confused, before he's going to bring something up to their ear and put it inside. As they do at least go to say, repeat, in yautja, which is just a basic, simple word. Now, while the person was surprised, or Aki was surprised, she did go to repeat, asking if the human would like to join her for a hunt, since she would like to talk with her and see if she does have a few things she can give her input on. Now, the human, they're kinda skeptical, asking why she doesn't just hunt with another yautja, or, well, why they're just choosing her. As Aki, she does at least go to continue. She's a blooded warrior, as well as the fact is, she wants to talk to someone who she can at least, sort of relate to. She isn't a yautja, so she does at least have a fresh perspective on what she does want to ask her, and she knows that she won't try to belittle her or berate her with insults because of it. The human, they're just like, oh, okay, that sort of makes sense, because they know about the class system. And the two of them, they would leave. Now, we do actually have where Aki, she would explain and express a few things to the human. And while the human and her, they do successfully hunt and bring something back, you do have where the two of them, they're walking along the outskirts of the fence. Since, while they could walk right inside, they're actually a bit more curious. If they can find a smaller creature to hunt while they're moving around, they'll take it. And they're more or less just at least continuing to talk. They're actually having a very good conversation. And there is whenever Akisha's ask the human, exactly what does she think of the, well, hunter Scar? Hmm? Oh, that guy. Well, I don't know. He's a very rugged man, I guess. Is that all? Well, I mean, he's. Well, I don't really know what you want me to say, but just look at him. I see. But it's more curious. I keep having these strange ideas in my head. The girl actually at least stopping to look directly at Aki. As the way she phrased that, it kinda doesn't help the human. Now, she does just ask Aki exactly what does she mean. Hmm? It's curious. Scar called me a comrade, or as humans would say, friend. And it's interesting to me. I don't believe I've ever had a comrade who wasn't on the battlefield. Hmm? Oh, oh. What is wrong? Well, I think I know what might be going on with you, but I'm kind of afraid to say it. Hmm? What is it? Well, you might be. Now, don't put a blade in my throat. The yautja is staring directly at the human. As she starts to at least walk again, asking what is she talking about. As the human does just go to say, she thinks that she might actually sort of be in love with Scar. Aki actually going to stop and go to actually bring up her blade. As she has turned around asking what does she mean by that. Hey, hey, I said don't put a blade in my throat. It's not at your throat. It's at your chin. Continue and explain, and if I do not like your answer, the blade will be at your throat. Okay, okay, listen. Just listen. Scar is an interesting person to you, right? That he is. However, he insulted me by letting me live. And I've been able to at least start to redeem myself by becoming a warrior. Okay, okay. You think about him a lot, right? We train together a lot. In fact, we've been training together for the last year to take on a queen. Okay, so that brings me to my next point. You guys spend a lot of time together, and you guys train together a lot, I guess, right? Hmm? I believe so. The yautja are getting a bit more confused, as they're starting to put together the pieces. It's basically just you think about him, he's mysterious a little bit, and you do understand him a bit, and well, you guys spend a lot of time together, so it was bound to happen eventually. As Aki, after at least putting everything together, she does look at the human. Well, fuck. What's wrong? Well, there's a problem here. Scar, he's human. Um, yeah, yeah. So, can we just pretend like this conversation never happened? That would be the preferable option to murder. Yeah, okay, you're scary. The two of them going to actually continue walking and get through the fence. As you do have where they did get inside, and you do have where a few other people they're crowding around a large fire. And wherever they are doing so, you do have Aki. She does turn that way and go to walk over. As the human, after at least bring up her hand and at least going to wave at something, the panel does close. So the fence is reformed. Whenever she does see Aki go to walk over towards a large fire, and Aki does go to at least bring a blade out, she herself is going to drop their hunt, getting ready to see exactly what is going on. Whenever Aki does rush to the crowd and go to see, you do actually have Deku, who he's standing there, right in front of the fire, covered in scrapes, bruises, mud, blood, and, well, there's what exactly is inside the fire. It's a large creature that is almost the size of a human. However, Deku, he does actually at least look to see Aki. He does go to at least bring up his hand toward her. As he does at least go to bring up a thumbs up, talking about how he got something to eat. A creature he hasn't seen before. And Aki, she does actually stare at Deku. As there's the way he looks. Fuck. Her going to at least think, well, this is annoying. Her stepping forwards and up to the creature. As she does look at it and ask Scar exactly what did he use to kill it. Since she can't see a clear wound and or at least hole with a plasma caster. Deku going to at least bring up a knife, talking about how he used one of these things. And she just stared back at him. Deku at least telling the tale about how he was leaping through the trees and trying to find something. And this thing ambushed him. So, the two had a quick aerial battle. Deku leaping off of trees and trying to attack it. And whenever he was able to wrestle it to the ground, he just slit its throat. And Akisha just stared back at him. As Deku, he talks about how that wasn't even the worst part. Him at least expressing that a few of the creatures smelled the blood. And while he did have to run off, since he didn't want to be eaten by something that was at least the size of a car, or at least a truck actually, he was at least able to bring this thing back. So there is that. Now, Akisha is going to ask him if he's ever tried this creature, to which he would just say no. And the two of them, they do just sit there. As Deku, after some time, he does go to at least stick his hand in and go to pull out a piece of meat he does see. Deku basically at least ripping off something with a bone attached to it. As he does go to hold it up and shout that whoever wants to hunt can eat. And whoever will not hunt, they will get what remains. And some people, well, some of them are cheering. You do actually have others who they are staring over at the fire. And they can see Deku and the hunters eating. As you do actually have Waraki and the human, they do actually go to toss their creature into the fire. And it's very interesting. The humans, they basically have a small festival and or at least gathering, where all of them, they eat, they drink, and some of them are reminiscing, telling stories about Earth and even other things. As we do actually have where Deku, he is sitting down after eating, and at least running water, or showering you could say, off the blood. Deku, he does still have scrapes, and he does at least bring his hand up to look at his left arm, as he is moving it around and making sure that it's healed properly, since he doesn't want to do more damage to it. Those things they do pack quite a punch and increase the human healing factor. However, it's not permanent, and that's the problem. He really wishes he could heal faster. Deku, at least looking at his hand, as he's just going to bring it upwards into a curl and move his fingers along with even his wrist. Deku doing so as Aki, she is staring across, she's staring at Deku from across the fire. And many humans, they actually are staring directly at her, since they don't know, they didn't know that yautja looked like that. Aki going to turn to one of the human, asking exactly what does he want. To which he does just going to turn away, as he doesn't know what to say. Deku actually going to look up and towards Aki. Him asking Aki if she's thirsty, to which he does at least get a hold of a bottle. Her starting to react to him, as she does just going to bring her hand up. Deku tossing it over to her, and she does catch it. As Deku, he does at least ask her to talk about some of her own hunting stories. And hey, tell them about the yautja homeworld, since he's curious about it too. And Aki, after at least a drink, she does look towards Deku. Her at least going to start talking about something that many humans, some of them they are getting a rough translation from their translators, they are able to pick up a few words. They pick up the word home, and even other random ones, and the translators are doing the rest. As Aki, she does weave a tale, talking about how things on Yautja Prime, they aren't actually that simple. Since with how many clans there are, many of them, they are starting to have to go away, and or at least leave the planet. Her expressing that her family and her clan, they were basically part of the ones who were excommunicated from the homeworld. Well, they can go there to get supply drops. They can go there to resupply. They can go there to do many things. Most of their homes and or places they've stayed to hunt as permanent bases, they've just been outposts in space. And while most yautja, they wouldn't be intimidated by that, she actually does miss her home. Her expressing that the planet, while it was ugly by their standards, it had its own natural beauty. Her at least talking more about the planet, and certain things that while other humans they look at each other confused, Deku he does at least sort of understand. As Deku, he really wants to say something about that. There's this feeling in his gut. How can he hide from everybody? How can he hide from them Earth's destruction? It eats him up sometimes. And there is over Deku, he actually is going to stand up and walk away. And many people, they're kind of confused. Some of them just chalk it up to, oh, Scar's an Earthling. He just misses home. And others, they do just think, well, okay, so that's that. And there actually are some of the people from Deku's crew, the ones he told about Earth's disappearance. All of them, they did at least start to look a bit more sad, and or a bit more, depressed. But they did stay sitting down. They didn't want to try and give it away. They didn't want to try and scream it, since if they did, there's the chance that everyone gets killed here. It's basically stay quiet or die. And even though they want to say anything so loud, they feel like they prefer cutting out their own tongue. And that's just the problem. Holding that information back from these people, it makes them all just, they feel like the bad guy here. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. Catch you guys in the next part.